Cassar. Well, welcome to another exciting episode of the Justice Plan TV and podcast show, where we unravel the secrets to crafting unforgettable wedding experiences. Now, I'm your host and professional wedding MC, as always, Nathan Cassar, and today we are all about the vibrant world of wedding entertainment with a musical maestro, Ben Relich, the main man behind WBC Entertainment. Now, Ben's journey into the realm of weddings and events is nothing short of extraordinary. From touring the globe as a professional musician to orchestrating unforgettable dance floors, Ben truly has seen it all. His passion for music and performance is taking him from the bright lights of Europe to the heart of Melbourne's vibrant music scene and everything in between. But Ben's story doesn't end on stage. With a knack for spinning tunes and keeping crowds on their feet, he transitions seamlessly into the world of wedding entertainment. Drawing on his extensive experience in the music industry, Ben brings a unique blend of talent, energy, and expertise to every event he touches. During our conversation, Ben will share invaluable insights into the art of wedding entertainment. From logistics and planning to crafting personal touches that make your big day truly special, he'll reveal the do's and don'ts of wedding music, entertainment, and DJing. Get ready to be inspired as Ben regales us with his craziest wedding stories, which I'm very excited for, and reveals the secrets to creating truly unforgettable moments on the dance floor. So if you're ready to dial up the fun and turn your wedding into the ultimate party, then this will be a great episode for you to turn the volume up. Ben, welcome to the show. How you going, mate?
Great. Thank you, Nathan. What an intro. Thank you. Thank you for your kind words.
Thank you. I appreciate that. It's funny. I think out of all the shows I've done so far this season and last, I think naturally speaking, I haven't paid anybody, by the way, to say those words. But I feel like I've got to do a compilation of everyone that said that so far at the end of the season. I appreciate that, but it's kind of on brand. I do love a good intro. I believe just like a wedding couple intro, of course, any or an act on stage that, say for instance, I'm working with one of your team, bringing them on stage for a feature performance. I do believe that a great intro gets a crowd pumping and gets them excited for what's about to come out, particularly if they are the VIPs of the day, they are couples. Tell me, Ben, you're based in Melbourne. You've done weddings also up here in Sydney, where I'm based, correct?
Not personally. I've done them in rural New South Wales. I've never played a wedding in Sydney myself. We have, lots of Sydney weddings where our artists play, and in fact, the artist that I have booked the most in Sydney is actually a former bandmate of mine from Melbourne. But he moved up to Sydney a number of years ago, and now he does, DJs and band and everything under the sun. And whenever people say, "Oh, is this guy good?" I go, "Well, I know because I've played with him. He's brilliant." So yeah, no, I've never played in Sydney, not a wedding myself.
Right. Wow. Yeah. Okay. No, that's cool. That's cool. I mean, it's great that obviously, I find that every capital city has a different sort of flavor to it a bit. And I've spoken with previous guests on the show based in other major capital cities that each sort of area of the country exhibits a slightly different flavor. And of course, even your rural weddings are very different to your Sydney-based, city-based ones. But, typically speaking, obviously everything, every wedding has its own, has a very through thread, which is people want to have a great time. They want to listen to some great music, which is exactly what you are good at doing. So taking it one step back, right? So you're a professional musician. You play drums, bass, and guitar, correct?
Yeah, and DJ. I'd say, I mean, I'm a drummer first and foremost. Ever since I was a little kid, I wanted to play drums. I used to try and turn the dial up on the stereo when I was a kid to try and turn the drums up. Turns out you can't do that. But as I was a little kid, I was always trying to find which dial would turn the drums up. So that's my first and foremost instrument is drums. But these days, I'm not doing as much guitar and bass, but mainly drums, DJ, MC when required as well.
No piano?
I did piano lessons for a little while. I think I just took lessons at the wrong time where things started to really take off. I was doing piano lessons as I started to gig a lot on drums,
Right,
and I just
right.
didn't pursue it because I was always rehearsing on drums, and that was when I was in a band that was doing a lot of touring. And I love piano; it's probably my favorite instrument to listen to,
Mm.
but I never really delved deep enough to be able to perform on piano. I can do a couple of basics, and that's about it.
I ask because I'm a classically trained pianist myself, and so but
Oh,
only specialized in piano, and so I was always fascinated because I know that usually if someone is a multi sort of faceted musician, they usually have most of the time have dabbled at least like yourself in piano as well. So I was just
But
curious. If,
I always laugh. There's this friend of mine who unfortunately has moved overseas. So he's no longer doing weddings with me. And I used to refer to him, I still do, as my musical Swiss Army knife, because we played in 3 bands together at one time. And in one, he was in on guitar, one on bass, one on piano. But I've also played with him where he's been on harmonica and violin and trumpet and drums and singing. And one of my friends, he's amazing. But we always laugh whenever we get into a venue that's got a piano inside, because I'm always the
Mm,
first one to arrive.
yeah.
No, he's going straight for that piano before saying hello to anybody, because it's like beeline, zone in on the piano. He's playing it.
It is a really beautiful thing though on entry. I know that I've been to a few weddings where the piano, and I'm sure that you have a lot of talent in your team that could do something like this. And I really love the aesthetic. I mean, I'm a bit biased, of course, being classically trained, but I do love the aesthetic of a venue where it has. I've been to a couple here in Sydney as well that have the pianos in the foyer, and
Yeah,
the ambience of just walking in and feeling that little bit regal before you go inside is just a really beautiful touch that I know
yeah,
some
I
some
agree.
couples
I
incorporate.
couldn't agree more.
So stripping it back beyond, obviously, it's there's a plethora of talent out there, and of course we'll touch on this a little bit later. But a little bit back from that, there's a big choice, right? Because you are a musician and you're a DJ, and I mean I know that they sort of sit under an umbrella, but for the purpose of today, in terms of where couples usually make choices, right? They either will it's almost binary, perhaps tertiary in the sense that they also go a Spotify playlist, but forgiving that for the purpose of this chat today. So the difference between music, live music, and then DJing, the logistics of having to figure out what is actually the right fit for a couple, but also about relying on your particular vendors, particularly if you're relying on a band playing in person versus a DJ who is obviously relying on them having the music and the equipment working correctly. Can you sort of give some ideas as to the pros and cons, or not only the pros and cons, more or less just the highlights of each choice and what kind of choice that they make has an impact on the overall wedding itself?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. I find it very, very easy to tell when speaking with couples which direction would be better for them just by the way they speak to me. Because a couple who regularly attend concerts, are regular live venue goers, they will typically look at maybe a band that they've seen, whether it's playing out and about live at someone else's wedding, online, and they'll think that's the experience we want for us. We want that live energy of a band, and as someone who is in love with drums and that sort of thing myself, I don't think there's anything in the world that can replicate the energy of a live band.
Hmm.
And that's why, whether it's one of our bands or any band in Australia, whatever it is, they can sometimes see, a lot of bands have really good videos online. They go, that's what we want. We want that
Hmm.
energy. We love that singer, or sometimes a couple of singers, and they love certain instrumentation, whether they want to hear a guitar or a saxophone or whatever's involved. And I think they've got a real clear direction of what they want. Those are the people that choose bands. With a DJ, I find a lot of time it comes out of a discussion with a couple who they've got multiple ideas of what they're after. Maybe
Hmm.
they want to have a section of the night that's a cultural section. For example, my sister got married a couple of years ago, and our family on one side is Greek, and his family is Cambodian, and she wanted a section of Cambodian music and a section of
Hmm.
Greek music, and then there was the live band as well. And having a DJ allows you to have that vast choice. Because I mean, when I'm DJing, if someone comes up and asks for a song, they could pick any song in the world and I can get it.
Hmm.
Whereas if you've got 4 or 5 live people, but you can't go and just ask for a song in the middle of the singer with the microphone in their mouth. It's
People
not.
try to though. I
They do.
watch guests do it, and I have to
Yeah,
sort of like
they do.
they get
And
all sort of upset
my first
about it. And they go,
boys are saying, "Please don't trip over anything. There's so much equipment up here." But with DJing,
"Hmm,
I do find it's very much that couples want to have that choice of
hmm."
maybe they want an ethnic portion of the music. Maybe they want a hip hop section or an EDM section or classic rock and roll or whatever it is, that they want to have that diverse range of music to choose from, and a DJ that can supply that.
Yeah, I think you've described it perfectly. I think there's one other factor I think I would like to get your opinion on before we move on to another subject, but I've also found that sometimes, even though as you describe, you've made the assessment based upon their vibe and what they do in their own personal lives in terms of how they ingest music or their main sort of like priorities in terms of cultural differences and whatever. But there's one other factor I think potentially, and forgive me if I'm wrong on this, if I'm off base, but
Mm.
I think there's one more factor in this, is that sometimes the type of venue itself that they've chosen can limit or basically make that choice for them. Am I correct in saying that?
Um, yeah, the venue definitely plays a part. I mean, if you have a venue which is relatively small, this is an extreme example, but a relatively small venue surrounded by glass or stone and a relatively small guest list, you don't want a big, loud band. Because although the musicians who tend to be involved in weddings are at a very high level of musicianship and they can control their volume, I think it is a sacrifice to say for example, if you have like a high energy rock and roll band that's
Mm,
all about energy and power and everything that goes with that, you don't want that band having to shrink who they are because of a venue, whereas a
mm,
DJ is a lot more adaptable. The other side of that, if you have a venue where it's like we got a bucket load of people and a big open space and we want to make as much noise as we can and let the drummer just hit the absolute life out of those drums, then great, get a big loud band. And so I
yeah,
think that all those things should be factored in. I mean, when you're planning a wedding, the wedding, any wedding is not decided on one or two factors.
true,
It's
true.
how can we make this a great day, and there's every factor you can think of, and so the
Yeah.
music certainly comes into that.
Yeah, yeah, definitely 100% agree with you going with that. And it's sometimes it's a hard choice. I know I've had a couple of couples that are like, oh, we really wanted this thing, but it just wasn't, the perfect mixture. But you're right, as you say, it's not just one factor, definitely multiple factors should sort of come to play. But that's why you have a conversation with someone like yourself who can help them to make an informed decision. So
Yeah,
uh
and I really, I think it's a great thing, and I'd advise any couple who's
mm,
planning their wedding and they've got some sort of restriction, might be a harsh term, but say it's some sort of restriction or a concern. I would always advise them, talk to your suppliers, because a lot of the time they'll have ideas that you might not think of. If
mhm,
if a couple wants to have a live band, but it's just too small of a space or whatever, we go, well, can we have a smaller version of that, a duo or a trio or a solo artist?
mm.
Maybe, I mean, a lot of weddings now are having a combination of acoustic music and DJ together,
True,
and
true.
the same artist performs both services. I mean, that's why I started DJing, so I could do both in the one night.
Mm,
And so I just think for anyone planning their wedding, if you've got any concern like that,
mm.
straight to your suppliers, because they'll have ideas.
Couldn't agree with you more.
Mm.
Speaking of sort of, getting good advice and of things of not to do and to do and best practice, what are some of your sort of do's and don'ts, your top three, so to speak, when it comes to wedding music, entertainment, and DJing?
Okay, so number one, it has to be personal. Do not do something that you're not happy with, and absolutely do encourage what you are happy with. And what I mean by that, it sounds really simple, but some people think, oh, we need to cover every base. No, you
Mm,
don't. You just need to have a brilliant, amazing night and ask for that. Ask for what you want, because a lot of the time the suppliers will be able to help you. You know, we've had little things like people go, oh, I don't know if I want a DJ. I don't know if I want a band. I go, well, why not combine them? I did a wedding on Saturday night where I was DJing, and there was a live vocalist and a live saxophone player. They were mingling in with the audience. They were wireless. They were in the crowd, getting the energy going while I'm there DJing, getting the tracks happening and the lights and everything. So I think do's and don'ts, just do not settle for your own idea of what can't happen. Do ask for help, because suppliers will always be happy to give advice. Because at the end of the day, when people ask me for advice on music, I say, it's not my wedding. I don't care. I don't care what music you have. What I do care about is that I'm able to supply what you have in your vision. That's what matters, because at the end of the night, I'm not there to go and see a concert of a band that I've bought a ticket for. What I'm there is to make sure that those smiles are on those faces, the feet are tapping on the dance floor, and the couple are having the night of their life. So tell me what you want and let's make it work.
Yeah, no, I love that. That's some really strong advice. I'm a big advocate of, leveraging your vendor's experience and expertise as well. It sort of almost breaks my heart to a degree when I find out much later down the line, when my planning process comes into place about 8 to 12 weeks out from the wedding day, and I get notification that, oh yes, so we ummed and ahed about this thing for months, and then we decided on this, and I went, oh no, I could have given you a whole other direction on that, well in advance, if you had just, leveraged it. Oh, I didn't know that, I didn't know. It's like, okay, it's fine, we'll work around it. But it is something, I just like yourself, I'm a huge advocate in, ask questions. Look, you're paying us good amount of money to be able to for a combined, years of worth of experience, easily over a decade, probably more like 2 or 3 combined years worth of decades worth of experience. And so there's a lot there that can really influence your day. So when we care about it, you didn't book us because we don't care. So
if we didn't care about it, we'd be, MCing, there's a million type of MCing jobs you can do, and with music, I could be doing more pubs or festivals or whatever it is, corporate stuff, because we care, because wedding days matter, and it's a huge privilege to be able to help celebrate with people on their wedding day and help to provide what you can do. I encourage them to ask. You wouldn't believe, you probably would, how many times couples say to me at a wedding or in the lead up to a wedding, are you okay? Have you got everything you need? Is there anything you can do for you? And I'm like, don't worry about me. I'm fine. It's your wedding day. Be selfish. Ask the questions, because if we can do it for you, if it's within our scope, we'll do it. We'll make it happen. We want to make the best wedding possible.
Absolutely, we do 100%. Although I must say it's really sweet. I don't think there's been a single wedding gone by, at least not for one that I can remember for a while, where I'm on the day itself and I've just done the intro. We've had a whole high energy experience, and I've just turned to the couple, and before I sort of depart and start flitting around the room and getting to know people at their tables and so forth, and checking in with vendors, like, oh, are you guys okay? Can I get you a drink? Can I do this? Can I do that? And almost always it's, oh, we're fine, thank you all. Yeah, please get this drink or something. Are you okay? Are you having a good time? And I'm like, I really hope I'm showing that. Like, oh, no, of course. I was just asking. I said, no, I'm just kidding. I really am genuinely. Well, look, it's we are. You got me for a reason, because I do care, and I know that I'm sure that you and your team are exactly like that. So
Absolutely.
get people who care, I think, is one of the greatest takeaways from today. I would love to hear about these so-called craziest wedding stories that you have, because it's good to talk about things, but it's from an overview, an umbrella point of view, but actually hearing some wild actual anecdotes is what I'm here for.
Get ready for this.
All right.
I'm going to tell you this story as quickly and efficiently as possible. There are a lot of details, and they are all necessary. Here we go. 2015. I remember the date, March 7, 2015. I got a band, and there are 4 members in the band. It's myself, Ben, Andy, Rob, and Sarah. We're called Bars. Ben, Andy, Rob, Sarah. Bars music. We go to bars, whatever. Anyway, so we get this gig in Swan Hill, which is on the border of New South Wales and Victoria on the Murray River. Sarah tells us in the lead up to the wedding, she's the lead singer and rhythm guitarist. She tells us that she's got family in Swan Hill, and therefore, because it's a long weekend, they're going to make a whole long weekend of it. They'll go up beforehand. They'll do the wedding on the Saturday. And by the way, her family's taking a big van. Do we want to put some of our equipment in the van? We go, great, thank you. So myself, Andy, and Rob, we come up on the Saturday in time for the wedding. Now, this venue, I don't know if you're familiar with Swan Hill, but
No.
It's one of these typical border towns where the whole town is based around the river, and a lot of the venues overlook the water. It's a beautiful town, big touristy destination, holiday destination. And this venue's got this outdoor deck that overlooks the river. It's a great spot. But we weren't involved with the wedding ceremony, but we were to set up our equipment in the same area as the ceremony prior to the ceremony for us to then play in that area for the reception later. So we got there super early to set up everything. And when we arrived, we discovered that the venue next door was having a big festival, one of these food and wine type festivals, people everywhere, music, food and wine, all this sort of stuff, big celebration. We thought that's pretty cool. Excuse me. So we set up our equipment, and Sarah's family are there because they've come to give us a hand loading in the equipment, and we get set up. And then we've got about 3 hours to kill while the ceremony and the canapes take place. So we've got everything set up, and we say, what are we going to do? And we said, we're just going to find a pub, go and have a drink, play a bit of pool, have a snack, and we'll come back for the wedding. And Sarah says, myself and my family, we're going to go into this festival and check it out. No worries. We'll meet back here, half an hour before the wedding reception, because everything was already set up, good to go, except we were still in our casual clothing. Anyway, so we go out into the street, and I just go to the first person I see coming out of this festival, and I said, excuse me, do you know where I'll find the nearest pub? And they said, yep, walk about 1 kilometre along the river, you'll come to a bridge, cross the bridge, the pub's right there, you can't miss it. Great. Sure enough, we walk along the river, there's a bridge, go across into the pub. We're playing pool, having a couple of drinks, and we're sort of saying, well, let's have one more game and then we'll go back to the wedding. We'll be there in plenty of time. And the manager of the pub comes up to us and he says, excuse me, guys, we're going to need you to step away from the window. Okay, is everything okay? He goes, yeah, I just need you over here. Okay. And then you see him going to talk to other people in the pub. Next thing, we start seeing some police running past, and then we see the police cars going back and forth. And the manager comes back to us a few minutes later. He says, all right, I need everyone into this back room. We're not allowed in this front room. Turns out there's a gunman on the loose. Oh. Yeah, unbelievable, right? And so we're waiting in this room, and the guys are saying to me, they said, are you going to call Sarah? And I said, well, we'll just see how this goes. It might resolve itself quickly. We'll see what happens. In the meantime, the police have blockaded the bridge. So there's no access back into Victoria unless we were to swim. So Sarah calls me, said, oh, yeah, how are you guys going? And I told her what was happening. And I said, she said, oh, just do what you can to get back here. I said, well, there's nothing we can do. We'll be there as quick as we can. But I said, look, if I'm not back there by the start of the reception, you've got to start without us. And thankfully, the only band member that wasn't trapped in the pub was the singer-guitarist.
Yeah.
Able to start without us.
Wouldn't have worked so well if it was just you on drums. That's for sure.
Just the drums or the bass or something, it wouldn't have worked. Anyway, this goes on, and we're just waiting for a while. And then the manager of the pub comes into the room, and there's all the people from the pub are in this one sort of closed off room. And he says, excuse me, everyone, who's the band? Us. He goes, right, the police are coming to get you in 5 minutes. Be ready by that door.
That's hilarious.
What's happened here? Well, what's happened is Sarah's at the venue. The bridal party has come to take some more photos back in, and they start talking to her. And obviously the question comes up, where's the rest of your band? So Sarah tells them what's happening. Turns out one of the bridesmaids is a local police officer.
Oh, stop.
So she calls the station and says, I've got this band that I need to get to this wedding. Go and get them. Unbelievable, right? So we get to the front door, the police open it, and their car is, this far from the door, and they've got the vests on, they've got their hands on their guns on the hips, and they rush the three of us into the back of this police car, and they drive towards the bridge, and it was
Mm.
like the parting of the sea. The
Mm.
police cars all backing out from their blockade to allow us to cross the bridge.
Wow.
And then they let us out over the other side. And of course, we're a kilometre or so from the venue,
Mm.
still wearing our casual clothes that we drove there in with our suits in
Brilliant.
my car in the big car park. So
Yeah.
we sprinted as hard as we can to get to this wedding venue, knowing, time is of the essence. This wedding's starting. And as we get closer, I can hear Sarah's started. So the wedding has
Oh.
begun. And I know where she's up to because I wrote the set list for the night.
Mm.
So anyway, we get our suits out of the car and we just get changed in the middle of this car park. Of course, the festival's going on. So there's hundreds of people in this car park, and he's actually getting changed in the middle of the car park from, trackies and a t-shirt into these nice suits as I hear Sarah playing inside. And there was this ramp into the venue, which opened a door right behind the stage. And I
Right.
hear her finishing her third song of the night. And I knew what the fourth song was. So as soon as she finishes, we opened the door, took our instruments, and we got the biggest applause ever.
That's
It was
amazing. I
amazing.
love this.
It was like local gang warfare or something going on. There was an article in the paper the next day. There was a shooting. Someone got shot
Damn.
in the leg. And that's why all the chaos. But it was unbelievable.
That is honestly, I've heard some stories, mate, but I'm gonna say
The
that
police escort to a wedding.
definitely is one of the highlights of stories that I've heard in a very, very long time.
Yep.
Yeah, I think you definitely win this season's one, at least up until this point so far. That was definitely a roller coaster and a half. I hope all of you listening and
Oh,
watching
it was
enjoyed
a
that,
day.
because
It was a day, and we drove up 4 hours to get there, 4 hours back. It was just and then the wedding as well, which was all energy for the whole night because everyone was just partying over the river, and it was a big day.
it's amazing though, like, yeah, when we say we care, like we were talking about earlier in the show, we care. And so it's that above and beyond, must get there kind of thing. Not just like, oh, okay, I guess we're stuck in the pub, we'll just drink our sorrows away and just apologize the next day and say, what could we do? And there's
Yeah,
definitely, it's just like, okay, great, there's an opportunity. We're gonna, the sea's been parted, off we go. So,
yeah,
well,
exactly.
oh,
Unbelievable.
mate, thank you for sharing that.
You're welcome.
Oh, that's unreal. We
Yeah.
are very close to finishing up with time here. I do want to ask you a couple extra rapid fire questions before we have to wrap up. So very quick, top of mind, one or two questions I have for you. One, what is your why? Why do you do this?
It's a huge privilege to put a smile on people's faces on their big day, and I can. I have the ability and the capability to. I don't want to sound too arrogant, but to dominate on a wedding day. A wedding is a thing that you cannot afford to go wrong, and I make sure it doesn't go wrong. It's a
Hmm,
huge privilege, and when you see the people out there having the best day of their lives, surrounded by their loved ones, what could be more of a privilege than that?
I love it. It's I resonate with that a lot, and I love that answer. Last question I have for you: if you weren't a DJ, bass guitarist, music, drums extraordinaire, what would you be doing?
Uh, what I would like to be doing is being a professional basketball player, but given my stature and abilities, I would be much more likely to be someone working on a spreadsheet all day because I don't mind a spreadsheet. So, project management of some sort, still managing projects like in the weddings, but maybe in a more boring industry.
Well, at least you're honest with yourself, but you can aspire higher,
That's right.
always. Ben, thank you so much for your time. It's been a real privilege and pleasure to talk with you today. I'm sure our audience has got a lot of great insights and wealth and enjoyed the story you had to share as well. Very briefly, just tell us all how, if they've been inspired by your story or otherwise, how they can get in touch with you and get in touch with your team all across the country.
Yeah, absolutely. So WBC Entertainment is the business. Um, Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, everywhere you look for it, WBC Entertainment. And I absolutely welcome questions from people. If they're not sure what they want to do with their wedding music, we're here to help.
Fantastic. I love it. Well, good luck out there. I hope we do get to work together someday, but not in such scary and, close to the wire circumstances. I think a much more calmer wedding is going to be good for everybody. But
Absolutely.
I I appreciate all your insights today, and I hope to run into you sometime in the future.
Thanks a lot, Nathan. I appreciate it.
Thank you for joining us for another episode of the Just As Planned Wedding Podcast. Please like and subscribe to let me know that you want more videos just like this one. And of course, please follow us on our socials at Just As Planned Wedding on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube for more expert insights to help your wedding go just as planned.